Ever wonder why we're constantly obsessing over boomers or picking apart millennials? We study Gen Z like they're some strange, exotic species we've just discovered. Yet there's this whole generation stuck in the middle, totally ignored and practically invisible. Meet Gen X. Born between 1965 and 1980. They're the quiet coworkers who just grind. Those parents who seem a bit distant. The people who built the web but never post their lunch? Here is the real secret. Their mindset is likely the most misunderstood of anyone alive today. They were the original latchkey kids on a massive scale. Just imagine, it is 1978. You're 8 years old, walking into a silent house because both your parents are still working. No cell phones, no security cameras, and zero ways for anyone to check if you're safe. You unlock the door, grab a snack, finish your schoolwork alone, and you just wait. Research shows that by 1984, 7 million kids under 13 were left totally alone after school. A whole generation grew up realizing that you cannot always rely on someone to be there. Those quiet afternoons did way more than just teach them how to be independent. It hammered home the fact that actions have consequences, the kind you cannot talk your way out of. By the time parents finally walked through that door, you knew exactly where you stood. Discipline was swift and blunt. Nobody really asked about your feelings or wanted to vent. If you messed up, you felt the heat immediately. No warnings, just the actual penalty. Mentally, this built a high-stakes world where what you did led straight to what happened. No cushions. Their brains became wired to see 5 moves ahead, a survival trait that totally confuses younger people today. They watched their parents preach family values while divorce rates exploded throughout the 70s and 80s. They saw loyal workers give everything to a company, only to get fired during the next downsizing. They were told work hard and you'll win, but then they watched the game change overnight. Experts might call it defensive pessimism, but to Gen X, it is just being honest about reality. It is not that they are bitter, really. It is more like they grew thick emotional skin. They hope for the best, but expect the worst, because honestly, that was their entire childhood experience. That is why they are so quiet online. They grew up when keeping things private was just normal. If you screwed up as a kid, only a few people saw it, and then it vanished. No smartphones, no viral clips, just some embarrassing memories left behind in a dark parking lot. Broadcasting your private life to total strangers? To them, that does not feel like fun at all. It feels dangerous. And no, it is not, because they do not understand the technology. They learned very early that the less people know, the safer you really are in this world. They used irony as a literal shield. Make a joke, keep your distance, and laugh before it hurts. It is pretty easy to see exactly why they turned out this way, right? They grew up under the Cold War, where teachers discussed nuclear winter like it was just the weather, hiding under wooden desks for bomb drills, as if that would actually protect anyone from a blast. When the world might end tomorrow, but you are told to stay calm, you learn to keep distance. Here is the cool part. Despite the chaos, they built a unique work style that still stands out. They do not brag. They do not post status updates. They just get the job done. That drive started with old-school jobs. Delivering newspapers at 5 in the morning in the freezing cold. Bagging groceries or doing mental math at a cash register when the power failed. Not for a resume. It was a brutal intro to adulthood, where a 12-year-old was responsible for an entire neighborhood's news. They watched their parents' lives get torn apart by massive corporate layoffs and cold office politics. So, they never trusted the company. Instead, they became fiercely loyal to their own sets of skills. They cannot stop a layoff, but they can make sure they are the most essential person there. There is this strange, deep contradiction at the very heart of the Gen X mind. They are fierce lone wolves, yet they're the quiet glue holding everyone together. Don't expect them to ask for a hand. They've been figuring things out alone since they were 8. But if you're drowning, they'll show up instantly, without needing to post a single photo for clout. They built survival bonds with friends because, back then, their parents just weren't around that much. Now, let's discuss why their view of authority is actually quite complicated. They respect skill, not some fancy title. Show them you actually know your stuff, and they'll follow. But if you're just a nameplate on a door with no actual clue, their patience is absolutely zero. They question leaders because they grew up watching the people in charge make one massive mistake after another. Between Watergate and the bungled AIDS crisis, they hit economic walls that their parents never even had to face. The youngest kids finished college just as the dot-com bubble burst. The older crowd was hitting their stride when that 2008 crash hit. Years of financial trauma taught them one thing. You'd better have more than one way to make money. It's not about being trendy entrepreneurs. It's because they've learned that absolutely nothing lasts forever. Experts say their extreme self-reliance is actually a form of deep-seated anxiety that's hard to shake. They're masters at handling a crisis, but that's only because they refuse to lean on anyone else. Studies show that when life gets tough, this generation is the least likely to reach out for support. It isn't that they're alone, it's that saying I need help feels like admitting a total failure. This self-reliance even changed the way they processed information. Before the internet, knowing things actually had a very different weight. They spent whole afternoons in libraries, digging through dusty drawers just to find one book with the answer. Finding facts cost something. It took real effort and time. Because of that, they valued what they learned very differently. Scientists call this deep encoding. Basically, if you struggle to find an answer, you'll probably never forget it. They know how to use their hands because when a bike chain slipped, they were the ones fixing it. You didn't call a pro. You just flipped that bike over, got greasy, and solved the problem yourself. This gave them a gut feeling that, with a screwdriver and some patience, they could fix anything. Now they're watching their own children grow up in a completely different world. It's a world of helicopter, parents and cameras tracking every move a kid makes. They gave their kids the attention they missed, but now they worry they've made them a bit too fragile. Because in their world, being seen usually means being vulnerable. The truth is, they might be the last group who truly understands what it's like to be alone with your thoughts, to be bored, or to solve a problem without reaching for a phone. They aren't better than anyone else, just different, shaped by that strange moment when the old world was fading and the new one hadn't quite arrived yet. They are the bridge generation, and nobody really notices bridges. They just do the work and keep things moving without ever expecting thanks. And honestly, not caring if anyone even notices is probably the most iconic thing about them. If this resonated with you, please subscribe. And to help me keep making these videos, hit that join button to become a channel member. I would truly appreciate your support.